we doing, folks? The paint's turned up for the tank, so that's going to be the last job. But I was just looking, not at the oil pressure, but just looking at how to measure the oil pressure. So this is 69 Starfire. So the later ones have got the cartridge style pressure relief valve. This one's just the spring and the ball bearing, which I've renewed, and they also have a port there for an oil pressure switch, but there isn't on the pre-69s, or maybe they changed at some point 69, but there is a drill and a tapping there. It looks like either quarter gas or MPT, I don't know, and that cross drilling goes up into the feed directly into the crankshaft, so it's after the PRV. So I thought, oh yeah, I've got a few pressure switches. That one's off a Bonnie. I'm not sure when that's off, whatever. I've got a couple anyway, but they're all a tad too long. But when I had my I used to have a classic Mini, a 69 Cooper, and I had at one stage I put a gauge and the switch in, so I made that out of a block of mild steel. So I was just wondering, I've got some 1/2 inch or 12mm or whatever it is mild steel, make one of those but male female, then it'll bring it out at 90 degrees. Because the other thing I can't get the gauge in. This is the gauge, it's a Storff style coupling. It's a really high quality digital gauge, so that's MPT or quarter, so that would go in, but it just won't go in because the frame's in the way. So I'm going to have a go at making one of these kind of like the other way round. So I'm just going to throw that in the lathe. Take the plug out first, have a look, another look, throw that in the lathe and see what's possible. So back in a short while. Okay, so cut a lump off. I've turned it up and I've threaded it quarter gas, but what I did is I've done it slightly oversized and slightly tapered, and I add the die because obviously I've got a quarter gas die, sorry, 8th gas die. I've wound the centre of the die in, so I've expanded it as much as I could, so I have managed to get a bit of a taper on there. It does screw in, I've tried it, so I've just centre punched it now, ready to see if I can get my device in so I can put the gauge on. So nearly there, a bit more drilling and tapping, be back directly. Okay, there we go, we're done, and that's my Storff coupling for the gauge. That's going to work, and then gauge out when it's done. One of these will do. Probably put that one in because it's got a circular terminal on it for vibrations, and that for the oil light. So let's fasten it on the bike and see what it looks like. So we're done. I haven't got a bulb and a bulb holder yet, but the switch is in, and I did have a spare wire down the spine which goes into the headlight. So I'm going to fit the bulb holder there in that aluminium plate, and there's the switch fitted. So, you know, I don't think it's going to get knocked there. Not too bad. I could fold it in a little bit more, maybe. But here's some of the readings. So this is a very accurate gauge, by the way. It was on some Mac peak hold. So when the engine was cold, about 3000 RPM, the PRV lifted off. So cold, 4.1 bar PRV lifts. When it was, which is around about 3000 RPM, so 4.1 bar in old money, 60 psi. When the engine was hot, you need another 1000 RPM to get it to lift. So obviously, you know, the PRV, hot or cold, that's not going to change, is it? It's going to lift at 4.1 bar, just dependent on the RPM. This is the bit I was interested in. When I first put it in and the bike was cold, it was 2.6 bar. It ticks over about, I don't know, 850 or something RPM. So that's 38 psi cold. Left it running for quite a while. Got it hot, crankcase hot. Could feel the oil tank was quite warm. And it dropped by a bar, which I thought was quite dramatic, but it's still on idle, 2.3 psi, sorry, 23 psi, 1.6 bar. And the switch, I just, that one's, actually that's a Daytona, off the Daytona, or not off the Daytona, for a Daytona, and the 0.5 of a bar. So 7 psi that opens, below that it closes. So I don't really want to know what the oil pressure is perpetually, because you'd end up watching the oil pressure gauge while it's dropping, you know. But the light is nice. If the light comes on, you've got an issue. So I'm happy with just the bulb, but it was just interesting just to see what the oil pressure is. Obviously on the later 1971, is it, or mid 70 onwards, when they changed the cartridge type pressure relief valve, then they gave you the extra port, high level, which was dedicated for a pressure switch. But on this early stuff, you know, there was no way you could find out. But that little port at the bottom goes directly into the gallery feed after the PRV, into the end feed of the crank. So it's just as good as the later ones for recording wise. It's you know, in the right place. Just a couple of things to mention. I didn't know whether the hole, the tapped hole, was tapered. I don't know what I've done with the plug now. Here's the plug. The plug was parallel thread, and it might even be MPT, I don't know. Over that range of threads it's hard to tell. But it was a parallel thread, and when I made that adapter I went oversize when I turned it down, and I had the split die fully wound open, so it was on like the maximum size. So and obviously there's a bit of a start to the die as well, so it was like ended up being a bit of a tapered thread. So if you are putting something tapered in there, be very, very careful you don't over tighten anything, because obviously the power you can get sideways on a thread, on a taper, you know, you may end up splitting the aluminium case because it's only soft. so don't wind it in like mad. Take care. Plenty of thread type, tape or hydraulic seal, and job's a good one. So spraying the tank next, and that's it. Still not got another project yet though, but a couple of things in the pipeline. Anyway, see you later folks.